I had a moment there, Barry, where I was thinking that I should probably play a prank on everybody and switch back to my old Wi-Fi.
Okay, let's not do that.
No, because I'm coming in loud and clear. Yes.
Yeah. No, you're sharp. You're like proper. Like I can hear you. I can see you. You move and you're not that blurry. Except when you do that.
Look at that. Oh, my little blur. Okay, I guess. Hi, everybody. Look, we started on time and don't have to start a new stream. We've done it all. We're here. We're professionals. We've done it. Congratulations, Barry. We've made it.
Hey, I'll take credit. You did all the work. No, I will say that I'm actually back on TikTok this time because I removed my ban.
Wait, you're back on TikTok because they removed your ban?
Yeah, so I wasn't able to stream. I kept on basically getting blocked from streaming.
Oh yeah, me too.
But I went and groveled to them. I pressed the button, and they said, "Yeah, go for it."
Yeah, you good.
And we're back on TikTok tonight.
I know. Isn't that strange how that happens? Back on TikTok too. I guess this fine afternoon, evening we're watching. Looks like we are live on plenty of platforms, so that's great. Hey, if you're wondering what we're talking about tonight, Artemis is a thing that happened, and Artemis 2 specifically. And if you want to read more about the human factors piece of that, well, hey, look, there's a little thing right down here for you. You can read the full story on humanfactorscast.com. What is that?
That's exciting. Is that a little QR code thing that people can like scan and then go and see it?
Absolutely, it is. The interesting thing about this week's story is that, well, it was authored by us. We did this.
I mean, it makes it better when sometimes, I'm not saying all the time, but sometimes we can be a bit critical of other people's writings. So I guess when I come and do some of my critique, I can't really critique the writing very heavily because you're just going to verbally slap me around the face. So yeah, I guess it's that.
I mean, you can critique the writing all you like. It's a human factors piece. We're talking about actors, and we're talking about Artemis 2, and we're talking about just the entire story. We'll get it. By the way, if
you asked me to review it, and I basically said, yeah, it's fine. I ain't come back now and say it's terrible. You know what I'm saying? Well, you didn't review it very well, then, did you? So it's on you.
If it's fine, then it's fine. That's good. You could. How about the listeners be the judge? Why don't you go?
Okay. Yeah.
Do the QR thing. Go read the article. We're going to talk about it and much more. But really quick note: I've realized that I should probably do this at the top. If you are watching the live version of this, disregard the next comment. If you're watching this after we've recorded this, skip ahead about 30 minutes into the video to find the actual podcast episode. We've had some folks reach out on LinkedIn that are wondering where the full podcast episode is. That happens in here, but you're watching this live. So if you're here live with us now, thank you. You can leave a comment in chat wherever you're watching or listening. This is one that I would really love to get some thoughts and opinions from folks about how they felt about the Artemis 2 mission. I don't want to spoil our full deep dive analysis into the podcast here, but like I'm just happy to have something really positive in the news. That's my takeaway.
From your side of the pond in particular, it's slim pickings for positive news. So yeah, no, this is all good. Just realized I haven't done my one more thing, so I'm just.
Oh shoot, I have not either. Well, there's that.
Yeah, so excited about a story that we really want to get into. Not that we don't want to get into our stories, but you know.
Yeah.
This is really cool. I was able to use my Lego model of Artemis 2 to exemplify to Amanda and my daughter what was going on. They didn't think it was as cool as I did. The fact that when the different parts were taken off, I could then take the different parts of my launcher out, and it was very exciting.
Oh man, that's so cool. That is so cool. I need to condense this down a little bit. Here, let me do this. I feel Never mind. I'm going to save that line for the podcast. I'm going to save that line for the episode. Put it right up here.
Did you mean to leave the title as "Turns Out Space is Still a Human Problem"? Was that a new title, or was that last time's title?
Where?
I just look at the restream. If you look at episode 319, "Turns Out Space is Still a Human Problem," that is different to that.
Yep.
Are you happy with that?
Yeah, I'm happy with that. It's different than the article title. That's fine.
Got you. Yeah, that's cool.
I want different search results for different things, or something. I don't know. Link to
you guys had a great show 2 weeks ago when I wasn't here.
Oh, I'm glad you liked it. Yeah, I really like talking to Megan about South by Southwest. It was great to hear her thoughts on everything, and really kind of interesting to know that like Human Factors is HCD is kind of taking a back seat to more of like this integrated approach where more folks are thinking about it.
So it becomes a bit more embedded transversal rather than being a straight up transversal. I thought it was really good. She had really good network quality as well. I'm just putting that out there.
Yeah, well, that's also why I am now better network quality. I think that was the thing that put me over the line, man. I saw that and I was like, geez, you just deal with it, and then when other people are having to deal with it, and they like actually tell me.
See, I'm just used to it. So,
all right, there you go. This little preview here is going to go away because otherwise it's going to take up some of our screen, or we got to do something with it. But the full QR code is still right up there in the corner. There, read the full article right there. HumanFactorsCast.com. And see it there on our website. Blah, blah, blah. What are we doing? Pre-show. So you watched the show last week?
I watched some of it. I didn't watch because apparently being away on holiday meant that I couldn't watch all of it.
Right.
But no, me and Amanda watched it from our hotel room. I did try and drop some messages in, but I don't think you got them. So.
Yeah, I think I saw them post. They didn't show up here in.
No, what was I listening? What was I watching through? Because I know if it was LinkedIn, it would have popped up. I can't remember what I was watching them through, but anyway, I was dropping sarcastic messages in there, and then no responses. So I was like, what's the point of having this sort of interactive podcast thing if you can't get reactions to your sarcastic comments?
Yeah.
So I went and had I found a new, well, it's not a new cocktail, but it's the one that everybody knows of, but I just never had before, which is an old fashioned, which is a classic cocktail. Everybody's always had it, and but I'd never had it before, so I had it, and I like an old fashioned. It's possibly my new favorite cocktail. So I left you for my own voyage of discovery.
Your own drink shot, a shot around the drinks. How else can I loop it into moonshot? I don't know. Not moonshine.
Yeah. I see what you did there. Yeah.
Flailing live.
Basically, what I'm saying is I dumped you both to go to the bar.
That's okay.
I think is what happened. Yeah.
That's okay. I will get you back for that later. Oh boy. Well, I have to say something. It's been an exciting time around the lab. I really want to spill the beans. I'm not going to spill it yet. But we have some exciting news, and I'll say this again at the top of the show. I'm not going to spill what news it is. I'm holding on to this one for months.
Okay.
lots of cool stuff happening. Let's just say that. I'm going to suffice it to say that. And I know that's a tease. I know it's a tease, and I know it's unfair.
It's a tease, but people could easily find out.
If you did digging, you could find out. Sure, certainly.
Wait, if you come and join the lab, you could find out.
Yeah, I mean, there are certain places online. If you go and look at our profiles, you will find out what this news is. It may not be immediately obvious, but you will figure out what the news is. So for any sleuths, any sleuths who want to go and figure things out, there's a little Easter egg hunt for you. We will talk about that at some point. It's quite exciting.
Do we have a This Week in Aerospace?
No,
again,
not this week.
No,
we do not have one this week. So good catch on that. We will have to dig into the backlog of It Came Froms, which if we still have a few on there.
They've still got 3 there that we've had raring to go for.
Isn't it
6
amazing?
months or so?
I know. Isn't it amazing that we've kept those in there for 6 months? Yeah, we got a couple in there, so that's great. Not timely advice, but well, for them at least. But at least we can discuss it here. Sure. I guess I'll just go off the cuff for those ones because I don't have anything to write down.
I mean, the first one is pretty much, well, as it says, it's clickbait. The second one actually links into the conversation that you had last time, and with Megan, as well as so a bit of that.
Hooray! Yeah, we'll get to what we can. I mean, who knows? This Artemis conversation could take the whole time. It could take 10 minutes. I don't expect it to take 10 minutes. It was very exciting.
Well, you just never know. It's
you never know.
Some of the coverage was just stunning. I love the fact that in Florida there was just so many people who went there to watch it from around the world. I mean, I think there was more British people there that were like when they're doing interviews. Where are you from? Well, I'm from Birmingham. Oh, right, okay. A place like that. The ability just to turn around and just to go and do that sort of thing was brilliant. I was quite jealous.
Yeah, so good.
I thought it was a bit like though watching a football game though, or a sports thing. That if you're there, you don't get anywhere near the same amount of information as what you do as if you're watching it on telly. Because on telly, you've got loads of people sort of doing the commentary for it. Whereas if you're live, you're sat there with a beer, just wondering what's going to go on and see whether it's going to take off.
Right. I'd imagine that many of them had their phones out listening to it or watching it.
I would imagine pretty much every single one of them will have done now.
Yeah, and I think at some point the commentators were like under a tent over by the observation area, and so I wonder if they had some speakers out there that they could then broadcast their own commentary that was both simulcast to the observers and to the stream.
Yeah, and I think it'll be very different to what it was in the Apollo days of doing this. So, but, oh, baby.
No, don't do that. We're just starting, man. Come on.
I know. It's been a long week already. In fact, it has been. The past couple of weeks have just been so incredibly busy. I've got the work that we're doing at the moment is so intense in many ways. But I've got a bit of a nice balance where I'm doing a level of management, but I'm also doing actual real work. And I know I should be doing more of the management stuff, but the work stuff is just so interesting that you want to dive into it. And then I'm playing with a couple of other bits as well. And you're just like, need more sleep.
That's exciting, isn't it? You get to the point where you're like managing operations and process, and then you like get served with some technical work. You're like, oh, right. I really like this stuff.
Yes. Oh, certainly, it's the bit at the moment where basically the team I'm working with now is shrank, and so I'm just like, we still need to do the work. So rather than leaning it all, we're leaning into it, and I'm just like, I want more of this. Just leave that with me. You just go and do whatever else you want to do. I'm going to go and play for a while. As other people call it, do the day job.
The day job. If you are watching live, thank you. And if you'd like to let us know about your thoughts on the entire Artemis 2 mission, from a human factors perspective, from an observer's perspective, like what are your thoughts on it just generally? You can leave a comment wherever you're watching or listening. We bring some of those into the show if it fits the narrative that we are. If you leave a comment, we'll probably rope it in. That's what I'm saying. And if you want to,
we have a very broad.
And if you want to, there's a nice little QR code right up here in the top left corner for you. Right there. It's my pointer. It's right there. And that leads to tonight's article, which is written by Human Factors Cast. Brought to you by Human Factors Cast. So yes, we are self-promoting tonight a little bit, but I think it was important to recap everything that went on from a human factors perspective. I think also this does something for us to kind of think about ahead of time what the story is and to reframe it from a human factors perspective early, so that way we can talk about it that way. So I think there's some of that too.
Absolutely. So I think I'd because we won't talk about this bit in the show, but the other bit that sort of really got me about the Artemis piece is just the size of the thing. We're so used to seeing SpaceX do its thing and launch a decent sized rocket to go and send Dragon up to the ISS and all that sort of stuff, and that looks like a bit of a beast. Even the what's it called, Star, whatever it's called, they're bigger one.
No, Starship.
Starship, that's the one. That's a beast with what they're doing. But this Artemis, the SLS, the launch system, is just an incredible piece of equipment, just so huge, and most of it just basically big barrels of fuel. When they were doing it, it was quite impressive. Just to be an engineer, being part of that must be such a proud moment, I guess. It's, right. In terms of notes, are you? You put some in now. I put some of the other points that I've stripped out further down.
Yeah, I saw.
And then also, they had a live press conference from the crew today that ended about an hour and a half ago, something like that. So I put the main points in there that I thought might be useful for us to pull out.
Yeah, that's great. Thank you for doing that. I think I haven't seen that press conference yet, so it'll be a surprise to me too, and that'll be great. I'm reading I read some of the points earlier, and I'm rereading some of them now. And they're quite funny in some ways.
I think the crew that they picked for this, and we'll probably talk about this way more detail.
Let's talk about crew dynamics.
Yeah,
in the show. I think that was a huge piece of it.
But it sort of reminded me of some of the commentary in The Martian. They talk about the crew makeup there, and I wonder whether somebody in the crew makeup piece actually read The Martian and maybe picked up on some of them dynamics. Maybe I'm just pushing my sci-fi fiction a bit hard.
Pushing your Andy Weir button?
Yeah, pretty much. So,
did you see? Okay, speaking of Andy Weir, did you see that there's a 4-hour cut of Project Hail Mary sitting out there somewhere? that includes much more from the book?
Yeah, I heard it went. I read it went for a couple of things. So there is actually something like a 6.5 hour cut. So that was the first editor's cut was 6.5 hours. They cut it down to 4, and then had to go savage to get it down to what it is now.
Wow.
I'd watch that 6 hour.
Oh, I would
version.
too. I think Avengers Doomsday is supposed to be like in the 4-hour range too. So like it
Oh really? Yeah. Okay.
So here's what I hope. I hope that something like Avengers Doomsday goes, there's an appetite for longer movies. It could have been done with Project Hail Mary, but I think I really hope Avengers goes, there's an appetite for longer movies. Bring them.
See, I'd watch it. I'd watch Hail Mary for that. I wouldn't watch Avengers for that.
No?
No, I don't think there's something. Well, have we spoken since you've seen it? We only messaged. We might have only messaged. I think since you've seen it.
I think really.
I think we've spoken since you read it. Or did you? No, I think you might.
No, we did, right? I thought anyway.
I think we might. Because we did a post show on it.
Yeah, we did. We did.
That's true. But still on reflection, I've been reading a lot of responses online and stuff saying it's the best film ever, and it's going back to the theatre so they can reap into more box office and all that sort of stuff. And it's one of these things that I'm like, yeah, it wasn't from a feel good film. It was a fantastic film, all that sort of stuff. But it wasn't as good as the book or The Martian in the way that they've did it. I'm still sort of disappointed in the science.
You know, the way that I've been characterizing the way that you feel about Project Hail Mary is that there was a core character that was in the book, which was science, that was sidelined in the movie.
Yes, I think that's true. And when you realize that the guys who directed it were the same people who did the Lego movie, and basically what they did was they just took the Lego movie, everything is awesome, and put it into Project Hail Mary. As Amanda put it,
every fact was not awesome.
Yeah, well, but I think Amanda hit it. My wife hit it on the head for me that nowhere in the movie do you feel that either of them are truly in peril. When you read the book, you're reading bits of it, and I've got no idea how they're going to get out of this. You feel like there's real peril there, whereas in the movie it sort of glosses over the peril a bit, and just because everything's awesome, because they give each other a hug.
There was one moment where I could argue that the peril was very real, but again, like I feel like they kind of took away from the book's characterization of that. I think you know the moment I'm talking about.
Yes.
Yeah.
So, but I mean, there's still. What I did like about the movie is they still had the jump scare moment when they first meet. I thought that that I knew it was coming. I still jumped. That was cool. You don't get that in a book. Well, you sort of did, but the
tension in the book leading up to that moment was
huge,
unreal.
Yeah, and you just sort of lost all of that tension, really, all of that play with it. But anyway, and there is now rumors of Project Hail Mary 2, but Artemis is obviously going to be first. So they're doing that at the moment, or going to start doing that. I don't think they've started it yet. So I just hope with Artemis that they go back to but it's more Martian way of doing it. But it's the same directors or the producers who are going to do it, so it's going to have the same feel as Hail Mary.
You think anyone's going to get confused and go, Artemis? Oh, this is about the moon landings. This is about the moon missions.
Probably. I wonder whether actually that's a really fair point. I wonder whether they might consider changing the name of it because of that. Oh, the book is about the moon as well, so it kind of ties together.
Yeah, wait, is this a documentary?
Is this actually happening?
So
Told you the government had been up there doing things.
live on the moon. Oh, I don't remember what. God, what piece of fiction was it? There was a piece of fiction where Nazis had gone to the moon and they were building bases on the backside of the moon for like years, and then they what piece of media was that? Does that sound at all familiar to you?
Not to me.
Hang on, I gotta find this now. Nazis moon base. Iron Sky.
Iron Sky. Yeah.
Iron Sky. That was it.
I
Wow, that's a movie from 2012.
Yeah, I don't think I've seen that.
Jeez Louise. How did I pull that piece of... That's crazy. Hang on, let me read the synopsis for you. Are you ready?
Hold on.
The Nazis set up a secret moon base on the far side of the moon in 1945, where they hide out and plan to return to power in 2018. Well, okay. I got some good news and bad news.
Too late.
Well,
so yeah, I've never seen that. So,
oh, it's so campy. I don't remember much of it. I probably watched it one time, but I again don't know how I somehow thought of that. Where did that line of thought come from? Something moon, something movie. Anyway,
well, movies on the moon, and then it is obviously one of them. So
clearly,
I would hope that this is better than that. Then
I hope so too. Last chance for me to mention this. If you would like to read the article, that's a little link for you right there. You can go to our website, read the article there, and see the full article that we are talking about tonight. And then, of course, if you have comments on the Artemis mission, and again, would really love to hear from folks on this one. Just anything at all. Did it bring you joy? Did it bring you moon joy?
Did it inspire you? Or not? Because, well, the ages of the astronauts I thought were very inspiring.
Yeah?
All around my age. You're like,
if you feel like some of your peers are up there?
Slightly older than me, it makes me think that I've got a chance. If I just knuckle down a bit, maybe lose a little bit of weight, put an entire flying career, learn how to be an astronaut, get selected by the international organization, I can do that in, what, a couple of months?
You got this. I completely believe in you.
Might need a Patreon to raise some funding to help make it happen.
Funberry's trip to space. We bought him a new car with the Patreon money. And then, oh my gosh. Now we're sending him to space.
Yeah. Yeah, but
okay.
It might look a bit Blue Origin. But anyway, that's
really quick. Before we start though, like, wouldn't that be crazy to do a podcast from space? I know we talked about this before, but like seeing communications happen with the astronauts during this trip, it's like, I would say something to you and then you'd wait 1, 2,
yes,
3, 4, 5, 6, and then you would respond. Like, that would be a crazy podcast to listen to. And then going back and editing out all the empty audio would be amazing.
But then surely that would be you'd have to leave it in because that's kind of the point. To a certain extent, that'd be weird. But anyway, yes.
Yeah, I guess. All right. Well, I guess we're gonna be back to start the show right after this. Then, yeah. Are you ready? I'm ready. Okay. All right. Stay tuned. We're gonna start the show.
Welcome to Human Factors Cast, your weekly podcast for human factors, psychology, and design.
Hello and welcome, everybody, to another episode of Human Factors Cast. This is episode 319. We're recording this episode live for you on April 16th, 2026. As I mentioned, this is Human Factors Cast. I'm your host, Nick Rome. I'm joined today by Mr. Barry Kirby.
Hi, Nick. Great to be back.
Great to have you back as well. We got an awesome show for you lined up today. I think space is becoming the new AI. Because we are talking about it a whole lot lately. And so we're going to be talking about some space stuff. So that's exciting. But first, we got some programming notes and community updates. Some exciting news about Human Factors Cast is coming up very soon. I'm not at liberty to say quite yet what it is. Potentially next episode. Which is in just 2 weeks' time. But if you want to hear that news early, and I think you do, this is a big one. Join us on Patreon. Those who are subscribed on Patreon will get the news first. And let's say there's some kickback for patrons too as part of this news. It's not only exclusively Patreon, but there is some benefits to those who are subscribing to us on Patreon if they hear this news. Okay, if that wasn't enough of a tease, there's some cool news coming. Please just look out for it and become a patron if you want to help support that. Barry, what's going on over at 1202?
Well, so at 1202, we are planning because we are just 2 weeks away from EHF 26, so the CIHF International Conference. And we've been talking to some people. We're trying to work out what content we're going to get from there to be able to then put in for the rest of the year. So really excited about meeting up with people and getting their thoughts, particularly getting their thoughts recorded. And just a quick reminder as well, if you are using the 1202 website, then you need to be using 1202pod.com.
All right. Well, let's get into the news. That's right. This is the part of the show all about Human Factors news. Barry, what is the story this week?
Well, there is only one story we could cover this week, isn't there? And that is the 10-day mission that was Artemis 2. And on paper, massive, massive milestone. Humans heading back out beyond low Earth orbit for the first time in over 50 years. A roughly 10-day mission around the moon, testing the Orion spacecraft, its systems, and what it actually feels like to operate that far away from Earth. We can celebrate the achievements of Reed Wiseman, Victor Glover, Christina Koch, and Jeremy Hansen, as well as the hundreds of engineers, scientists, support staff in NASA, and the other space agencies from around the world that came together to make this happen. But from a human factors perspective, it could be argued that this isn't really a success story yet. It's a reality check. Artemis 2 isn't asking, can we get there? It's asking, what is it actually like for humans to live and work inside that system when there's nowhere really to hide the problems? And when you start looking through that lens, then some very familiar issues pop up in a much less forgiving environment. Whilst we'll be no doubt talking about the toilet, we'll also be talking about the accommodation. It's a lot bigger than Apollo 11 was. The Orion capsule is still, though, not much bigger than a tent. For 4 people in 10 days, limited personal space, limited ability to withdraw, this has real implications for team dynamics, disrupted sleep cycles, fatigue, and psychological resilience. Then they come back, and it looks like they struggle to walk. And that just reminds us that the human body is just not designed for that deep space environment. So for us, Artemis 2 really exposes some real core HF challenges. We need to look at autonomy and the crews having to operate with more independence than we've seen in decades. The workload, tightly planned, highly consequenced tasks with little margin for error. Human limits, looking at psychological, cognitive, and social, all under pressure. And importantly, it highlights that gap between engineering readiness and human readiness. So yes, Artemis 2 is a step forward. But from an HF perspective, it's also a reminder that success isn't just about propulsion, navigation, or software. It's about whether the system supports the humans inside it, right down to the most basic, uncomfortable, but absolutely critical details. So Nick, have we proven Artemis is safe for humans? Or is it just that humans are still willing to tolerate unsafe and uncomfortable systems to achieve new things?
I think a little bit of both. I think just at the top, I'll say that to answer your question, the risk is probably worth the reward for these astronauts. I think just generally, this is a success story, and I think it really is, even from a human factors perspective. It made a lot of that work that is often invisible in our field. It made it visible in a very public way. It put everything on display. And yeah, things like the toilet, we'll talk about the toilet, but we'll also talk about how they fixed the toilet. Because the design of that toilet was in such a way that they could rotate the ship and make sure that the pipes and everything got heated by the sun, and then it was able to clear. Like, that is an accomplishment of being able to adapt to some of these challenges in this environment is crazy. A couple other points that I want to make. This crew was exactly the crew that we needed. It's exactly the crew that Earth needed in this moment, in this time, and we flung them out into space. And that's the thing that made us love them. Um, the public response to this event was larger than I could have predicted, right? Like this in a lot of ways felt um like the most positive thing I've seen in the public zeitgeist in a very long time. And that's a big thing. Okay? Like, as a millennial, I'm sitting here going, I've not had very much positive news in my life, and this is great. Let's have more of that, right? So it's about damn time that we get a positive story in here. I'd imagine there are quite a few human factors nerds over at NASA that are super happy about this mission. So I think, all in all, this was a success, even with the things that didn't go quite right, or even with some of the systems that are still being tested. This was a success in every measure. Like, that's my opinion. But Barry, I'm curious, what were your thoughts on Artemis mission?
So I'll preface all of what I'm about to say with I absolutely agree with everything you say. It was an amazing thing to watch. It was just I love watching. I think it's one of these things that the world came together to watch. There was nobody around the globe who didn't know what was going on. And at its most fundamental level, the mission proved we can still put humans around and then hopefully onto the moon. So it proved all that brilliantly. We were saying in the pre-show, the SLS, the launch, the spacecraft launch system, is huge. Just the scope and the engineering behind that thing, it is just so incredibly big. Then it also makes you realize that the Orion capsule itself is so small. It's still bigger than the Apollo 11 version crew capsule. It did feel to me, and this is where I'll be hypercritical from an HR perspective, it still felt like the crew were an add-on. So that for the size of that SLS, everything within that capsule was still cramped. It wasn't quite refined. So sleeping arrangements were still a bit ad hoc. I think they could have, for the amount of money they've spent putting the SLS together, would it have hurt them to put maybe an extra foot onto the height of the capsule in order to make it more comfortable to live in? Now, it's easy to say that, being an armchair critic and engineer from our perspective. There's probably loads of reasons why that just wasn't possible. But it's just that sort of perception that the way the crew were getting in there still felt like a bit of an add-on. But you mentioned it, that there's so many people, so many HF people working at NASA. NASA is a benchmark for us. There are tools that you use literally because they've got NASA in the name. So I guess with some of the issues, and we will talk about the toilet, there was an element there I was possibly slightly underwhelmed. When I take away my this is awesome space stuff, when I got a bit critical about it, there was a bit of things there that I was like, is there not more that we could have done? One cool thing though, I didn't really appreciate the 3D thinking in space though. The fact that every surface was down, if that makes sense. So normally we think, right, you've got sleeping quad, everything has to out of your 6 sides that you've got in a cube, you can only really use one of them for most things when we are planning stuff. The fact they could use basically all sides of this thing for usable space, that kind of blew my mind, which possibly negates the thing I just said earlier about sleeping space and things like that. But that was something I'd never really considered before. The public perception on this was the way that they did messaging now is just phenomenal, because I think there is a thing about seeing science done. So when I used to be involved in the justice system, there was an element there where they used to talk about justice not only being done, but justice being seen to be done. And I think that absolutely lands here. That we not only need to see, not only need to know that this stuff has happened, but we need to see this stuff happening. To inspire and all that sort of good stuff, and for geeks like us to be cheering at the telly and things like that. But also, we do have a public problem where people just don't believe what they're told at the moment, and people need to see absolute proof. And I think that did that, and you can't argue that you weren't seeing what was live going on. And NASA did a brilliant job, I think, in providing great commentary, stunning visuals, and things like that. I think we'll need to talk about that in more detail. We need to talk about the outlook problem, because the difference in challenges that we have, Apollo 11 had and Apollo 13 had some really big problems. Here we couldn't get our email working. The diversity of the crew. In this day, and the way that you mentioned it earlier, in this day, this is exactly what we needed. We had diverse nationalities, diverse sex, everything to show that space is for everybody. And it's a celebration of international collaboration. It was really good to see so many nations coming forward, providing different bits of it. As a Europe, from somebody from Europe, I was really proud to see the ESA support module being a significant part of what the Orion craft was doing, and the way that the world leaders were talking to the crew and able to do that. Yeah, there was loads of it. I thought, look, overall it was a good mission, but I think we still can be critical to a certain extent on the human engineering involved.
Sure. I would kind of go against the argument that the crew were an afterthought, and there was a very specific moment in some of the coverage that I think really highlights this. And I think this comes back to sort of their ability to habitate in space. There were moments when Mission Control reached out and said, "Hey, did you find this thing in this part?" And they're like, "Oh yeah, we found that. Thank you." Right? And they had left little things for the astronauts to find in the capsule that would enrich their day to day as they made this trip around the moon. And I think that that is something that isn't just let's put this little sweet thing in there for them. They intentionally did not keep, they intentionally kept that from them. And two, that all that stuff had to be accounted for. Like that weight has to be measured so that way the appropriate amount of thrust can happen to get that thing off this planet. And so all that stuff had to be accounted for. That was design. Somebody went through and said, what types of things can we put into that capsule that will keep these astronauts engaged and give them happy feelings as they're isolated hundreds of thousands of miles away from Earth? And I just think that is amazing. So I just wanted to bring that up because that was a great moment.
I think that's really valid, and there was things like when they had the discussions with their loved ones. I mean, they just recently finished a press conference, and one of the things that came out of that that during calls with families, they all cried because the was the gravitas of what it is that they were doing and that connection between what they're doing and home. I mean, they're only gone 10 days. It's not a huge amount of time in the grand scheme of things, but the magnitude of what they're doing clearly got to them. And I just think that the makeup of this crew as well, they've clearly picked them not only for the skills, which they clearly had. I mean, the fact out of all of them, it was Christina who was getting down and fixing the toilet and showing everybody else how it was supposed to be done, because she wasn't just doing that job, she was communicating with it as well. They were all really good communicators, and but it was the way that they gelled as the team. And I am sure the amount of psychology and review that went into the team selection is probably must be probably massive, and clearly that worked really, really well. In fact, they go, I think, again in this conference, Reed Wiseman sort of highlighted the fact that for them they are bonded forever. After that mission, they've done something that nobody else will do in the way that they did it. So yeah, I think from that perspective, it's absolutely spot on. I think the point I was trying to make is when you consider the size of the system, of the whole system, the Orion capsule was, so if you've got the massive system like that, and for those of you listening to this, I'm gesticulating, was very large, and the Orion system is like that little bit on top of it. Would it have hurt them to make it a bit bigger so they actually had space to do stuff? Because one of the other comments that came out was this idea about having me space, and Victor Glover reflects this in the in his part of the interview, that that idea about having personal space was just a complete myth. If one person was exercising, they were all exercising, because they're all basically living by crawling all over each other all of the time for 10 days solid. So could something have been done about that? Possibly, and later on, but that's kind of more about what I was getting at. I think you're absolutely right to highlight the way that they've dealt with them.
Yeah, you mentioned something, the humanity of this crew, just the diversity, the humanity, because like you saw the moment where Wiseman named the crater after his wife, and that was just like it's something very human about this
Yeah.
whole mission. And I think a lot of that comes to the coverage. And maybe we can talk a little bit about the coverage before we get into the toilet and the outlook and everything, because the coverage was I saw a lot of sort of criticism at the very start. They were like, "Oh, this isn't like SpaceX. We're not getting the full video." But then and then, "Oh, now we have this animation. That's weird." And like I was glued to my TV the entire time. The like I made a point to around some of these major events, the launch, the flyby of the moon, the landing, to mark out my schedule so that way I could attend these and watch these live with everybody else. It was a moment in history, and I think there's a lot of really interesting things that happened with that, right? So like I said, there was a lot of criticism early on, and then as the thing progressed and they got like stable connection with the crew on on their way, the day they did the lunar flyby, the feed had been going for hours, and I go and tune in and I see the moon off in the distance, and you're like, are they getting closer? Are they getting close? And then you skim through the video and you're like, oh yeah, they're getting closer. And like it's just insane to watch that thing as you're skimming through the scrubber go larger and larger and larger, and you're like, wow, that is so cool. And you're just sitting there, and then the pictures that they brought back, like just everything about the coverage that they did, I think was communicated really well. They had it is very transparent in the way that they were communicating with the astronauts. There wasn't much that they left that was not broadcast. And I think that transparency does a lot for the public's perception of what's going on. Because if you had a moment where they're like, okay, we need to hide the comms, what are they talking about? It's like, what could they possibly be talking about? It's
Yeah.
So, I mean, I think the way that they did it is very, very well done. And, in terms of the coverage itself, I think there was a lot of time that they needed to fill. And coming from somebody who needs to fill 2 hours every couple weeks with stuff, that's not easy to do. And I felt like the pauses in the coverage were just long enough to where, you would still expect something to happen, or you're still looking at some amazing visuals. Even when they came down for splashdown, right? We were all waiting there for like an hour or so for them to get out of that capsule. Um, and sitting there watching, okay, good, it landed. Okay, good. Now get them out. Get them out. Get them out. Get them out. Yeah. You're sitting there just going, come on, work faster. But you know that there's a whole process that goes on underneath the hood of trying to get them out of that thing. And the way that the commentary was done throughout all that was, okay, we've lost radio signal they can't get radio signal with the people that are coming to the boat. They can't, get the SATCOM working. And then, there's a whole bunch of logistics underneath that's going on. And then the way that they were describing that in terms of science communication and saying, they need a team to put the front porch out, and then they'll get them out of there. They'll transport them from a helicopter, and they repeated it several times. The repetition was good for folks who may have been tuning in. It's good if you're still unsure of like what has happened yet. So I think the coverage of everything was just phenomenal. They did a really great job, and I really hope for 3, 4, and beyond that we get that same level of coverage, because I would love to just sit and watch this stuff. This is awesome. Okay.
Yeah,
what do you think of the coverage?
I mean, the point you made right at the beginning around SpaceX and people commenting on the difference between SpaceX, I do think SpaceX have set a standard that they do that really well. It's slick, it's well put together, and there is a thing that I'll compare it with. We in the UK, we had our first flight a couple of years ago now from the UK shore through the Virgin One system, and I switched on to that expecting to see similar interaction as what we're watching with SpaceX, and it was awful. It was truly horrific, and so I guess for me they're the two extremes. I think SpaceX do it really well. This Virgin flight was so appalling; it was ridiculous. I think NASA was very much up there for that element of it, was probably just below SpaceX quality. But as an endurance event, they kept going for 10 days and providing that sort of level of input. What made me giggle, I think, or laugh ironically, was the amount of people that were commenting saying, well, these pictures are all right, but they're not as good as the Apollo 11 mission pictures and things like that. When you got the pilot pictures back from them, I was like, yes, but when you got the Apollo 11 pictures back, you had to wait like a week after they got back for them to be developed. Here, you're seeing them live. You're seeing them now. You're seeing what they're seeing within, a couple of minutes, and like they're just there with their iPhones, just taking photos as well. Our demand for in this media age of live now, immediately consumable visuals, audio. I think we are spoiled in many ways, and some people possibly don't appreciate the technological challenge of getting them live photos to your browser of choice, that video to your browser of choice. We sort of take it for granted, and now whether that's a fault of just modern technology or the movies or things like that, and I don't know how you change it, because I think you don't appreciate it unless you recognize how challenging it is. So that I thought that was an interesting take, give it on that public perception element. But you're right as well. The amount of fill they had to do, the presenters, I think, all deserved a medal for keeping it good. But even so for the landing, we watched coverage through the BBC, and they had different people in the studio, and then they could cut to the zones and the camera feeds from NASA, and we had different people in. So from the UK, Tim Peake, who's our last pilot to go up to the ISS. He was sort of constantly on talking about that, and then they had future crew members and all this sort of thing. So they were working through a number of different personalities to try and keep it fresh. So they obviously recognize they're going to have long moments of potential absolutely nothing happening for good safety reasons, but good safety doesn't make good telly. So yeah, it was really interesting to see that as a challenge. And I do think that this science communication piece, as I said earlier, I think it is now not a secondary consideration. It is absolutely front and center of proving the science and the engineering as much as the science and engineering itself, which I think is a fantastic thing to see. Should we talk about the toilet? And just
Let's just do the toilet.
Let's do the dirty and get rid of it now, and then flush it away. See what
and
did
then
there.
flush it away. So what happened with the toilet, right? I think that's probably where we should start. What happened with the toilet? So I think there was during some of the early checks on the toilet, there were some issues with the motors that helped move some of the waste through the pipes, and so they were able to get that under control very early on. And when I think it was on day 4, it was that Saturday. The wastewater vent line got clogged. And you might think, oh, this is someone's eating really well on the. No, it was actually liquid waste that got by the way, can I just say it was very funny to hear the NASA press conference on this? Did you watch any of that? Because they were referring to them as number 1s and number 2s.
Yeah.
The astronauts can still go number 1, and it's just very funny. Instead of saying liquid waste or solid waste, and so what happened was the liquid waste had frozen in the lines, and they they did their normal troubleshooting steps, and the way they ended up solving it was because it was frozen, they angled the capsule such that those lines would be facing the sun, and the sun actually melted it, and that's how they were able to vent it out and then be able to use it again. So I think that really does have a lot of ingenuity behind it. Whether that was the crew's idea or mission control's idea. We got to remember, mission control is a big part of this crew too. Like they are there supporting them every second along the way, except for that blackout, which again we'll talk about. But I think we focus on these 4, but there's a huge team of people supporting them from planet Earth. And I think it's very important to remember their role in all this stuff too, because they were supporting them for everything that they needed in terms of information, or they had complete readouts on the ship that they were giving them information that they didn't have, again with the sort of humanity of the whole thing. But again, I don't know whose idea it was to tilt the ship towards the sun to melt the solid waste, or no, sorry, the liquid waste. But I think that was the way the human ingenuity solved that problem.
Yeah, it was. I thought what was really good was it was a problem to solve. It was something that they weren't expecting. They clearly hadn't. They clearly don't plan for that sort of thing. Though, well, I'll rephrase that. They clearly don't expect to be solving that sort of problem in the mission, but they had planned for something because they had backup systems to use and things like that. All of that was. I was just sitting there going, somebody's been edge case thinking this. This is excellent. That's cool. But yes, to sit down and sort of go, right, this is a problem, right? We've taken to bits, it doesn't work, or we've done a hack with this. This is now what I think the problem is. Let's just turn the whole thing around and make it face the sun, and we'll melt it from the outside. I mean, that's engineering. That's good engineering solutioneering. That was really cool. And also some of the design elements around that toilet as well, in terms of the
putting it on the floor.
Well, putting the floor, but also the insulation around it, because apparently it was very noisy because it was so close to the outer edge, and so they had to do all that sort of stuff with it as well. So, but going back to the communications thing with this problem, they could have easily almost hushed it up. They could have easily just thought, oh yeah, we've got a minor problem, but we're solving it. But again, they were very open about what the problem was. They were very open about how it was getting solved, and highlighting how big a problem it was, really. Because it was, they could just say, "Oh, the toilet's broken," but it's okay. They'll hold it in for a few days. It's not fine. They're like, they recognized it was a problem, and they showed what it was like to solve it. So, whilst, and I think it's probably a weird thing to say, but I think it captured the imagination in the right way, not the wrong way. Because again, it was a problem. We've also had a blocked toilet at home one time or another, and you're like, oh, you got to fix it. So it really humanized the job that they were doing, and perhaps brought some of the issues that they have to life in a way that you sort of think that astronauts are doing these big scary stuff, and that they won't do mundane things like go to the loo. I mean, why would they do that? But clearly they have to. It's not just a 1 or 2 hour mission when they're going to hold it in or whatever. It's 10 days. So yeah, whilst it was an unfortunate incident, I think on a number of fronts, actually I think it possibly did more good than damage to the overall mission.
Yeah,
Which might oh, sorry, go on.
I was going to say it's interesting because you say it did more good for the mission, and I think it's probably, you're right. They have like these predetermined things that they need to do at certain points throughout the mission. This takes priority, right? They have to track another item that is unresolved. They have to deal with it in some way. They have to manage how they're going to work around this issue by using the other method. Let's just say that. And then I think the other thing that I mean, you got to think about being in this situation. This would have some real impacts on your ability to perform. If you're sitting here worried about the toilet not working and like, I gotta pee in a bag again in front of these people that like are my crew, but like I gotta do that again. Like, that has to have some sort of effect on your mental workload and everything that's going on. So in a lot of ways, it's a very good thing that this thing was addressed and fixed relatively quickly, because who knows, they could have been like taking pictures of the moon and like, I got a room, but it's broken, and now I got to go over here and do my business in the corner. So like there's real impacts that happen to people when you can't do that, right?
And it makes me laugh, really, when you think about it. So, and it's in the article that the Human Factors Lab was produced. They did, the crew did proximity operation demonstrations. They did 70 minutes worth of controlled approach and retreat maneuvers to make sure that the Orion behaved nominally, behaved as expected, and they could get a real feel for how it truly was going to happen for later on. And they gathered so much data about the flight characteristics, the performance, and all that sort of stuff. That's really cool science and engineering and verification, validation testing about what it is they're doing. Really complex stuff. Yet we are more interested in the toilet. In terms of what makes the news. Complex system does really, really complex things and performs way better than anticipated. No, they fixed the toilet in space. That's where we're at. But it just shows, it goes to the core of putting humans in space. It's this sort of thing that is possibly more interesting to the public at large, and getting across that space message more so than a really cool, complex piece of technology does cool, complex technological things. Which I think, again, going back to the comms thing, NASA nailed, and the whole comms team nailed. I mean, I guess to put it into a bit of context as well, I did about 2 weeks ago. I did I was at a conference event with a trade body in the UK, and at the last minute they asked me to join a panel discussion to be one of the panels. And it was around the space workforce and what we've got in terms of companies, the space ecosystem. And there was a discussion there around whether actually Artemis will kill some of the love and that for the space industry, because certainly in the UK, a lot of the space aspects are really satellites. We don't launch any astronauts to space here. It's not it's not sexy from a UK perspective, mainly because we can't. We don't have the facilities, and also we live in a very congested airspace, and so there was a concern: will what they're doing actually just make people in the UK think, well, we can't do that. Why would I get involved in space when actually we do a lot of work around satellites and things like that? And I think what they've proven with this mission is no, it won't hinder it. Everybody's talking about it across nations, and despite what the US government might think, it was a truly international collaboration that really brought people together. So and a lot of it goes to the way that they shared this comms. So I think for me, a lot of this was around the biggest success was about the comms. It was about the delivery. But then if we go and look at what the other end of the unexpected problems was the ability to get email. Or specifically,
I have two outlooks.
yeah. I mean, when you again we do the comparisons back to Apollo 11, and Apollo 11 had not enough memory to be able to go and do all the calculations. It had like bytes of memory in there, and for anybody who wants to be geeky about it, that's the entire reason why my podcast 1202 is called 1202, is around that entire problem. Now we've got the problem. We've got so much that the crew were having problems of two versions of Outlook open, and them having to then dial back for tech support to say, "Can you remote in and sort out my Outlook?" I mean, do you think that was a positive view from a Microsoft perspective, or the fact that it could be fixed and it was easy, or the fact that it was a problem in the first place? It was not the problem I expected to solve.
It was not the Nutella moment that they were hoping for, I think.
No, that's true.
So anyone who doesn't know what I'm talking about, there's a moment where they're just doing something in the background, and all of a sudden this jar of Nutella comes and floats in front of the screen. And I'm sure the Nutella CEO was sitting there going, yes, yes, yes. And I think the Microsoft moment, you probably had someone on the other end going, no, no, no. I think it's interesting because it's a very human problem. I don't know very many people who haven't had an issue with a Microsoft product at some point. I think, and it's not to single out Microsoft. I think any suite of tools has had issues at some point, no matter what stack you use. It's a very human problem, and we saw it happen. And oh yeah, astronauts are just, it was a moment where it made us feel connected to the astronauts because they're experiencing, they don't get special Outlook. They're not special Outlook because they're astronauts. They get the same thing, and they have the same problems that we do. And that's amazing. And I think that's something that really does a lot for the humanity of it too. It's like, when they can comment on this, like, hey, I have two Outlooks and none of them are working. Like that's human.
No, it is, and again, it shows just how much the technology has advanced, and the fact that you can sit there with your getting your personal emails whilst being 5 days away from Earth, and getting that sort of thing through, but also the fact that they could solve it. In previous missions, in historic missions, that would have been. Well, you could argue it wouldn't have been significant because they just wouldn't have been able to do it in the first place. You wouldn't have been able to have email in that way. But to solve something technological would have been a significant challenge. Apollo 13, great example of when they're having to really rip into a spacecraft to fix it. Now it shows that ability for doing software remotely, software engaging and all that sort of stuff, is now we just take it for granted. And it's clearly a thing that's going to happen no matter what the distance. The Nutella moment I thought was fantastic. But it was also coupled up as well. I don't know if you saw the interview with Mark Carney, the president of Canada, Prime Minister of Canada, and where he spoke and he said, "Can I just all make sure that you are having the maple syrup as well?" and then the maple syrup is getting equally, if not more, airtime than what Nutella is. We're just speaking for all of Canada, and I was like, brilliant. That is just shows the humanity of what it was doing. He was able to make a joke of it, getting across the message that he wanted to get across. But CEO of Nutella was going, yeah, thank you. But again, the publicizing of them calls that they had from world leaders and things, I thought was interesting, because there was definitely lots of contrasts in the way that them interviews came across, and the fact that they made them public. Everybody saw what was said, what wasn't said, which was brilliant. I think another thing that's been quite good is, again, the way that they've been treated since they've landed as well. So clearly they must have gone through all of their processes and things like that, and I wonder how they are adjusting to their newfound fame, I guess, in terms of what they're doing. Again, in this interview, Christina said that she's been struggling with the lack of zero gravity, which we've spoken about this before in previous episodes around how a human's going to have to adapt to living in space. You know, they've spent 10 days out in space, and we see it with people in the ISS as well. You lose bone density from day one. You have to do all of the exercising. You have to do, and that's strict. You've got to do it. Otherwise, when you come back, you're going to be seriously ill. And even when you do all of that, when you land, you're still struggling to walk. You've got to be helped out. You've got to engage. And if after 10 days, from Christina's experience, she's then suffering from, actually, why can't I float around? Cool problem to have. From the assistance of zero gravity. That's an interesting perception on what our future looks like, I think.
I forget who it was, but there's an internet astronaut a while back, and they're drinking a cup of water or something, and then they just let it drop because they think they're still in zero G, and it drops to the floor, and it's an adjustment, because I'd imagine that living in zero G is quite different. Can I just comment on some pants really quick? Can I comment on the pants?
Go them.
I love the pants. Have you seen the pants have Velcro all over it, which is amazing. So you can actually have a laptop on there, or stick a tablet to it, or do whatever. Pants are an amazing piece of ingenuity that is just, anyway. In terms of adjusting to fame, Christina's been posting on TikTok, so that's fun, and she's been posting little videos from inside the capsule, which is such a cool, unique view that you don't see. You see the professional photos, you see with the good camera, Earth and the moon and all that stuff. But I think this was just a video of something floating around and they were laughing, or something. It was a very human moment. Again, it's just so cool to see.
But it would have been so easy for them to turn around and say, either no recording, no posting. There could have been, and if they'd said that, everyone would have been like, yeah, okay, fair enough. But the fact they haven't, the fact that they're just, go for it, just share the message, is just by far and beyond my biggest takeaway from all of this, because it's just such a good news message across all the way through it. And then again, I guess one of the summary things from this press conference, where they were saying, start looking up. Look up at what you see, because the future is up there, and it's coming sooner than you think. They're really trying to get across that message that hopefully Artemis 3 isn't that far behind, etc., etc. In fact, let me just quickly. Yes, no. So the Reed Wiseman had admitted that if they'd had a lander, just happened to be just in the boot, as it were, they flew that close that they might have just tried to give it a go and land on it anyway, because they felt that they got so close into what they were doing. I mean, it must have. I mean, they obviously, we all knew that from the get go. This is because we had an episode on it, sort of saying that they changed. You know, we knew that this wasn't going to be a landing mission. Do you reckon there's a tinsy wincy bit of them that is just slightly gutted that they just couldn't do it?
Yeah. Oh, yeah, certainly. But there's going to be plenty of Artemis missions, and you'd imagine that some of this crew will go back.
Well, they've got. I mean, surely when you talk about transfer of experience and all that sort of stuff, the best way you can do that is that half the team being new and half the team being experienced. But then, because wasn't it was Jeremy's first space flight? He had 0 hours in space before he went up there.
Oh, I didn't realize that. That's amazing.
That's a start, isn't it?
Yeah.
Everyone else had 100 to a couple hundred hours in space, and it was his first time.
Go from 0 to the furthest person away from Earth ever recorded, right? Like,
yeah,
easy. A few things that I want to follow up on. So you mentioned, being able to post freely. And I find this is true even with folks who are not the crew, but also adjacent to the mission. So there's a person on TikTok who was a CEO on the John P. Murtha, who was commenting on the amount of logistics that needed to happen in order to get those astronauts out of the capsule. And she was being really transparent with a lot of the processes and, working on government projects. I'm like, oh, are you supposed to say that? But like, no reprimand yet. And I think a lot of that is probably due to the publicity of this mission and what it's doing for, everything. I think so. I mean, and we should talk about the extraction, because that in itself was like its own logistical thing, because you had a window where the thing could land. They made it within a mile of their target, which is insane, thinking about all the mathematics that went into that. Like, that is insane. And then you had the ship with all the different crews that went out and did a survey of the water. The heat of the shield can cause ammonia, so they're out there testing the water to make sure it's safe to breathe for everyone around it, working it. And then you have diving crews going underneath and taking pictures of the thing to make sure that any damage is recorded early before they transfer it to the ship, so that way they know whether or not the damage was from the transfer or from entering. And then you have, the fastening of the front porch to the thing, and then you have a medic going in and that was another view that I saw on TikTok too, is the medic's point of view. They had like the glasses on and they went in and they were giving them all high fives and saying everything okay, all green, and it was really great. Like, it was so cool to see. It's just a view that before now I don't think you would have ever seen something like that.
No,
incredible.
The technology itself wouldn't have existed. The ability to get small cameras in, around, all that sort of stuff ubiquitously. We can now have cameras like everywhere. But also, having that. I mean, the thing I thought most of all, could you, being one of the crew sat there, when you've got through, you've just traveled the fastest a human has ever traveled. You've got so intense heat shield. I mean, I don't care what anybody says. Every one of them was sitting there going, "What happens if this fails? What happens if that heat shield blows? It is always yes, it's a small gamble, but it's still a gamble. It's one everyone was nervous about. So you must be feeling that sense of elation, that the adrenaline must be going. Absolutely must be. And you're sat there, you've landed, you've done everything. You're sat there going, why can't you just come pick me up? Just get me out of this thing now. I want to get out. Just let me out. An hour later, let me out. Let me that must be the way you must have the biggest amount of patience ever. But it was because I think, again, you made the point earlier, you made it right at the top. It's not just that 4 crew. In fact, it's not just the engineers around. It's the entire legion of people behind it all. Everybody has their job, everybody has their role, everybody has to work together in order to make every single stage happen. And the recovery is just as critical as the launch. So yeah, it was. But it must. In fact, I would argue that they've probably got the harder job because everybody is just sat there going, "Just get it over with already. It's done." And they, no, my job's just beginning. The recovery is really, really, I've got a
Yeah.
lot of stuff to do before I can open that hatch.
Well, and then even the astronauts, when they're done, they're not really done because they took them from that and then immediately made them go through an obstacle course to
Yeah.
test a thing, because you need to be able to test that if their bones are fatigued and everything. So they went and did that right away, and so I'm sure they were tired and like they had to still do that. And then they've been on the press tour, about everything, and so like they haven't. I don't think they've truly had a chance to rest since. I know they've been home, but like I don't think they've had a chance
Completing. Yeah.
to rest. Um,
Yeah, I wonder how long truly from a of a psychological perspective, whether is it better to keep you when you get home, still keep you on a almost an adrenaline bubble for a while, to whether that's helpful to helping you reacclimatize back to Earth, and then letting you basically home and rest until then you have the whole recovery piece of actually you're alone with your own thoughts at that point, rather than doing that straight away and then having to do a whole press tour. I think that it feels like that would be a very deliberate decision.
yeah, I think so too. I'd imagine that there are probably some folks adjacent to us working on that very problem. And
Yeah.
what does a tour entail, right? I mean, I think the crew was picked in 23. Is that right?
Yeah.
And so they've been together all this time. They've been training all this time. I'm sure they've got rests in between, but like, I'm sure it's been a very grueling few years for them to get prepared for this. And then, it's done. And now they still have to go through some stuff too, uh, on the other side of it, between the decompression and then the training of other astronauts. Like it never ends, and it's a job, and that's why an astronaut is a job.
Yes. Do you think that the role of astronaut now? So if you think back to Apollo 11 and the type of people they were selecting to be astronauts then, compared to what they're selecting now, do you think that that's going to evolve again in the future? What could you see the astronaut of the next 10 to what sort of characteristics do you think we'd be looking for?
It's curious, isn't it? I think the the skill set of this crew, I read, is very much jack of all trades.
Mm,
Um, and not necessarily like an even distribution of those skills, but enough skill in enough things that there's overlap between the the astronauts in any given one thing. Let's say Christina was incapacitated. Who's going to deal with the toilet?
yeah.
Um, I think if Christina was incapacitated, I think that would be a bigger issue. But I think the thing still remains. If somebody can't deal with something because of any given reason, who is going to deal with the thing that person was tasked with? And so I think that um, that evolution, I don't necessarily see being different in terms of getting people that fit that jack of all trades profile. But I think what may happen is we may advance the science on team composition and teaming, and we'll understand better compositions for the future that will result in like capture the magic of this crew. What happened on this crew?
Yeah.
What are some of the psychological markers of this crew that made it such a good team to send out there? Because I think that is going to be studied and tried to be applied to future missions. That's my take. What about you? What do you think?
Well, I think that the what will change significantly is automation and human machine teaming. So as we get into future missions, I mean, we already had a large amount of autonomy in this flight. So there was a lot of it was flown on autopilot and that type of thing. The hands-on control was seen as more of a novelty than it was a necessity. And so as we develop our autonomy functions, AI will have a role to play in this. I see the crews being there more along for the ride and there to be to deal with emergency situations more so than they are now. So a bit like the it's a bit like what we're seeing in cars and what we're seeing in airplanes. As more and more the machine does more of the hard work, that will free up the skills capacity or the skills capabilities of crews to be much broader, and to be of different specialisms and to have a wider variety of people come along, because the actual core difficult, technologically challenging pieces will be done by autonomy, AI, and things like that. So I think we will see a real development, and that will be in tandem with the development of our understanding of how that human-machine teaming grows. Because I think that teaming quality, not just the human teaming amongst themselves, but how they start blending themselves with the machine, with the system, is going to change. And I think it's going to change relatively rapidly. So it'd be interesting to see how that evolves as we go through time.
Yeah, you're right. I can definitely see another crewmate being added in the form of like an onboard personality that they interact with, right? Someday. I can't believe how much we've talked about this to the point where we don't have enough time for it came from. So let's do. I mean, we didn't even run the advertisement in the middle. Wow. Well, let's thank you to our friends over at Human Factors Cast. Hey, that's us for our news stories this week. Well done. Pat ourselves on the back for that one. If you want to follow along, we post the links to all the original articles on our Discord, where you can join us for more discussion on these stories and much more. We're going to take a quick break, and then we'll be back for one more thing. So I guess stay tuned for that.
Human Factors Cast brings you the best in human factors news, interviews, conference coverage, and overall fun conversations into each and every episode we produce. But we can't do it without you. The Human Factors Cast Network is 100% listener supported. All the funds that go into running the show come from our listeners. Our patrons are our priority, and we want to ensure we're giving back to you for supporting us. Pledges start at just $1 per month and include rewards like access to our weekly Q&As with the hosts, personalized professional reviews, and Human Factors Minute, a Patreon-only weekly podcast where the hosts break down unique, obscure, and interesting human factors topics in just 1 minute. Patreon rewards are always evolving, so stop by patreon.com/humanfactorscast to see what support level may be right for you. Thank you, and remember, it depends.
Yes, huge thank you, as always, to our Patreon patrons. You truly keep the lights on. You keep everything moving smoothly over here, and you support the mission of science communication through us and through the lab. So really, you're supporting much more than just the podcast with any Patreon subscription. You are supporting the lab and some of the really cool things that they have they are working on actively. I don't know how else to introduce this. So one more thing, Barry, what do you got this week? And really, really quick, apologies to our friends who are waiting backstage to do This Week in Aerospace. I'm kidding. They're probably recording it now. We didn't have one this week, so it's totally fine that we went this long. All right, what do you got for your one more thing?
I guess so my main one more thing actually is it's still to do with Artemis. It's still to do with the thing, but at Christmas time I got the Lego model of Artemis 2, and what was fabulous around the watching the launch is seeing. So I've obviously spent time building this thing, and it's huge. It's sat in our living room. But whilst we were watching it, it was brilliant to be able to peel away the bits of the Lego model, so I could it wasn't until I saw what was going on live that I could truly appreciate what each individual bit on the model was doing. And that's where I think it was the first time it truly impacted me, the scale of the Orion capsule against the rest of it. So anybody who wants a good Lego model to go and do that's topical, go and grab the Artemis 2 one, because I thoroughly recommend it.
I want that set. My one more thing is also related to Lego, so it's funny. My son is really into space right now, and so this is actually very timely because we watched the launch, we watched the moon fly by, we watched the recovery together, and I wanted to make sure that he was paying attention during the important parts, like, oh look, the parachute's deployed, that means they're most likely safe, they landed, that's great, you're watching history, son, pay attention. So he's really into space right now, and he's 6 years old, which I can't believe, and he's also not bothered our cats for weeks, so he got himself a Lego set, and the Lego set that he got was it's a set where the sun rotates and then the earth rotates and moves around the sun, and then the moon rotates around the earth, and it's a very complex technical set. It's built with Lego Technic, and it was interesting to watch us build that because he was asking for a lot of help. It's meant for 10 plus, but I thought, okay, he's smart, he can do it. He could do it, but a lot of it he was needing help with, and the gears, we wanted to make sure that they were actually done right. And so it was just a little bit out of his comfort zone, but he still did it. So but it's a very cool set. It's a very cool set, and to see it all come together is very cool. You have that set, right?
I do have that. I got that. My friend bought it for me a couple of years ago, and again, I completely agree. And you put it together, and then you're just sitting there spinning around, watching everything go around. Yeah, it's great fun.
Yeah, it's good. I posted a picture on our Discord if you want to go join us there. Well, that's a good as transition as any, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
That's it for today, everyone. If you like this episode, enjoy some of the discussion about Artemis 2, go listen to some of our more recent episodes about space. We talked about this thing, and I think my commentary would likely change given some of the commentary that we talked about today on those. So I'd be interested to get thoughts on those after Artemis. Comment wherever you're listening with what you think of the story this week. For more in-depth discussion, you can join us on our Discord community. Visit our official website, sign up for our newsletter, stay up to date with all the latest Human Factors news. I'd like to get back to posting more of these articles. This was great. If you like what you hear, you want to support the show or science communication, leave us a 5-star review, tell your friends about us, or if you have the financial means to, consider supporting us on Patreon. As always, links to all of our socials and our website are in the description of this episode. Mr. Barry Kirby, thank you for the show today, talking space nerdy stuff with me. Where can our listeners go and find you if they want to talk about that Artemis 2 Lego set?
If you want to come and find my Lego sets and see what I've been building, then come find me on LinkedIn, Facebook, or if you're into my other hobby, which is pottery, then you will stumble upon my Instagram, but there's not much human factors going on there. But if you want to listen to me do interviews with interesting people in and around the world of human factors, then I'm on 1202, the Human Factors Podcast, which is 1202pod.com.
As for me, I've been your host, Nick Rome. You can find me on our Discord and across social media at Nick_Rome. If you're watching live, stay tuned for the post show. Thanks again for tuning into Human Factors Cast. Until next time,
it depends. Music and everything. You're like on it.
Yeah. Wow, what fun was that?
No, that was... Again, it's always weird, isn't it? Because sometimes we'll pick a topic like this, which is obviously so big, and it could go anywhere. But I think we spoke probably most consistently about the comms side of it all in the end, and barely touched autonomy or teaming or the more technical.
Well, hey.
I mean, we do human limits of workload, but no, it's mostly about it. And I love it when it does that. When it goes somewhere where we haven't necessarily. I mean, not that we do a huge amount of planning, but where we sort of identify themes, and then we talk about we're going to talk about just other stuff. It's because that's where the conversation went.
That's where it went. But I mean, some of that stuff's in the article. And again, I'll go ahead and bump that right there. If you want to go read the article, I feel like I'm advertising a lot. It's just because I wrote the thing and I want to make sure that you'll see it.
Read it.
It's a Human Factors take on the Artemis 2 mission. But yeah, I thought it's funny because a lot of the stuff that I wrote in there didn't make it into the discussion tonight, and I was like, oh man. So we still talked about how the public was kind of part of it. Like we still talked about Let's see what else is in there. Recovery talked a little bit about. We talked a little bit about.
I tried to put a lot of the highlights into the description itself, into the intro.
Yeah,
yeah,
I noticed that. Thank you.
So, but no, it was cool. I still can't, but I thought we would have got at least one of the It Came Froms off the thing.
I thought so too. We had them queued up and everything, and then well, they'll sit in the backlog for a little bit longer.
Oh well, yeah, they're good. They're good generic topics to come in when we need a save.
They're evergreen as they would.
Yes.
Evergreen content.
No, interesting. It's actually quite topical that I'm on the comms thing at the moment, because I'm hoping that with my IEA hat on, that the IEA comms are going to take a leap forward.
Ooh.
Because I've suggested that we need to take it a little bit more seriously than we currently are. But we've got the Ergonomics conference coming up in not next week but the week after. And so the weekend before, so it starts on the Monday. That weekend, there's an IEA exec meeting in the UK. So it'll be quite interesting to see how that lends itself into the next bit. We had the CIHF AGM this week as well.
Ooh,
it was very exciting. Not least of all, which is because I'm now back on the exec committee.
Right.
Because I couldn't stay. Yeah.
They couldn't keep you away. Yeah, just when you thought you were out, they roped you back in.
I think it's more that they tried to keep me out and I kicked the door down. But so now I'm in the heady role of treasurer of the CIHF. So I'm in charge of the monies, which when I told my team back in my company that I'm in charge of the money, the person who looks after the money in our business just openly laughed. And I was like, that's not filling me with confidence. She's like, no, you don't either. And I was like, oh, okay. I was like, it's okay. This is more of a strategic role. I won't be looking after the pennies and the pounds specifically. They have paid staff to do that. And her only response was, well, that's good then. I just felt my character was being all besmirched. But yes, so fun time to be had by all.
You know what? There's something that's been bothering me. Can I talk about what's been bothering me?
If you must. We've got 20 minutes left. Can you fit it to 20 minutes?
Oh, I can. Yeah, I can fit it into like 20 seconds. It's actually production related.
Okay.
The thing that's bothering me right now, and it's not just a right now thing. It's like a thing that bothers me every time we're on this platform. Is if you look at the top bar that we have there.
Yeah.
Well, first off, when I did the original graphic of that like slash was because we had organized our not like that. What the heck?
I still like that format.
We had organized our. Where's the setting I'm looking for? I guess this. Yeah. We had organized our setup like this, where you have the there's some space between this and that, and so it doesn't quite. But when we're like this, which is the new format, that bothers me right there.
Yes, because it's not one or the other, is it? Yeah.
Mm-mm. And I also need to clean this up because
yeah, the Twitter bird is gone.
Is gone. So
I need again the other day in terms of because normally it's part of the Artemis thing that normally we'd be tweeting out on what you were seeing or seeing other people's reactions on Twitter and stuff like that, and I didn't have a go-to platform because you could watch it a bit on we watched it on YouTube. You see bits of it on Facebook, sort of a bit Threads, so if you dabble in that.
You can watch it
There was bits of it
anywhere.
on Instagram, but I don't have now a platform where you can reliably can go and see latest news and not feel dirty and scummy about it.
Yeah. It's weird, right? I mean, like we tried to do that here on our platform to various degrees of success, but you know, I think we're not a social media platform.
No, exactly, and I think LinkedIn. I mean, it always used to be that LinkedIn was always a pain. I think now LinkedIn has come out really well from the business perspective. I think it works really well. I think it needs to. Ooh. Hello.
Where'd you go? Hi. Bye. Bye. Hi.
I'm back.
Welcome back.
That was weird. Did you lose connection as well, or was it just me that lost connection?
No, it's just you. I got better internet, man. Oh.
Whoa! How the tables have turned.
I got the medium bucks internet now. I don't.
Yeah, I've got a fast box internet. That shouldn't happen. I wonder whether I kicked a cable. You know when you if you were to look underneath your desk, is it nice and tidy with all the cables nicely tied up together, or is it a complete like spaghetti dump fest?
Spaghetti factory.
Yeah, no, me too. And I really need to tidy
on
that.
my desk too. On my desk is a spaghetti factory too.
Mine's not too bad. I'm hoping to replace this desk soon. I want a sit-stand desk that's a bit deeper, and we're about to move offices, and so we've been out. And you might feel this being this slightly weird, but I remember telling you that we were moving into new offices nearly 3 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
We've come to the end of that, or we're coming to the end of that lease in a couple of months' time, and so we've been there for 3 years, and we're about to move offices again.
Again.
Just shows how long we've been doing this job, mate.
Wow.
So, so we were doing that, and then sort of looking about what machines we're going to need and all that sort of stuff. Because part of me, we've been playing around with different types of technology, but the thing they keep on having to go at me about is the fact I just have wires and cables everywhere. They get annoyed. But it's, so the whole point of that bit was when we move, this desk is going to go into that new office for Amanda to use. It means I get the opportunity to buy myself a sit-stand desk.
There you go.
So there's going to be some times where I could do stuff like the first half of the show standing up, second half of the show sitting down, or vice versa.
I'd be curious to see what that looks like from the camera's perspective. You know, everything in the background raises, but you're like trying to maintain.
Yes, it'll be interesting to see because I think it'll be interesting to see if it changes the dynamic of how you present as well. Because when I was talking to Gareth Locke. So Gareth Locke is a human factors practitioner who's really driven human factors in the diving community, and I interviewed him a bunch of years ago. And so he runs he created a book called The Human Diver. He has a platform called The Human Diver. Right. Yeah, and so when I was interviewing him, he was stood up and he was saying, "Oh yeah, I when I do all my presenting and stuff standing up because I feel I have a better dynamic with the camera and stuff." And I was like, "Oh, that's a something I've always wanted to try, especially given this." In this day and age where we are doing a lot more hybrid stuff.
Yeah.
Because I don't like presenting sitting down. So if I'm doing a webinar presentation, I find I don't have the same almost adrenaline rush if I'm just sat down doing this type of thing. I much prefer to be standing up, but then obviously that doesn't work very well on camera. So yeah, I'm quite interested to see if it gives me a different view and different perspective. So that'll be in a couple of months' time, I think. So we shall see.
Well, we shall see. We shall also see. You know what the best advice for when something bothers you is?
So, we share problem halved, or you got somewhere else?
Just go and fix the thing.
Well, yeah, there is that as well.
So here,
Is that what you're trying? Oh, there we go.
Oof. A little better. I've tucked the Facebook logo behind that thing now, because whatever. I think the.
Oh, I see what.
I've had a TikTok.
Oh, you got in the TikTok as well. Oh, I see what you've done there.
Bye, Twitter.
Nice knowing you.
So here, yeah, that's the new overlay. Look at that.
Cool.
Producing fancy graphics
on the fly.
On the fly. I still feel like I should update it. There's I'm not super happy with it still because of the placement of the thing, and even if I move it over on the other side, it's like it's covering up the URL there.
Oh, a bit of it, yeah.
And I tried making the whole thing smaller, which I could get it to the point where it's half that bar, but then it's not as. Anyway, hide that. There. All right, that looks great.
It does. It's all nice and clean. Oh, that's a new one on my. So I've now got because obviously you can see the number of people who are watching us, from all the different bits.
Yeah.
But I've actually got a view account on this side now, which I didn't have before.
Oh, so now you can see who's watching on your channels. Or can you see
I've only got literally just. I believe that is just a view account. Oh no, I can see who's on my channel. Yes, you're right, I can. Oh, I've been not all of my channels though.
No, it doesn't show things like LinkedIn or.
No, it doesn't show. I can only see Facebook and Twitch.
Yeah.
Is that right? Yeah.
No,
okay.
Yeah. Both my lights died.
Oh.
But they're plugged in. Hold on. Give me 1 sec.
Go on then. See, we have to get the complete aesthetics right. You can see how much more effort that he puts into his background than I do, because actually just looking in the background of my picture now, realize that there is a lot there that doesn't need to be there. There is going to be a slight reorganization of all of this space, but not happening today.
They, in fact, we're not plugged in. They when I got my brand new internet, I've unplugged the lights, and then they never plugged them back in, and then we're running off battery. That's why now I got my whole setup again. Look at that, blue, green, and red.
A complete aside that so in my new pottery hobby, I decided to go big last week, and I'm creating a water fountain. So it's the biggest thing I've ever made so far, and in pieces. And I was like, well, one of the things I obviously need to make a water fountain is a water pump. And so I went on Amazon, bought what I thought was the smallest water pump that I could get. And it comes, and it's about that big, and it's about 7 centimeters by 5 centimeters. And the thing that I've made, the round, the collar bit that it would fit into, it fits it, but it's really snug, right? Mm-hmm. So, which is fine, except when you then put clay in the kiln, it shrinks because the water content goes, so it shrinks. So it always shrinks about 10% of the size, right? So I'm like, that means that once this has shrank 10%, the pump is not going to fit. It's going to be big because I'd sized it wrong. So I then went back onto Google and was like, I need the smallest water pump that there is possible. It turns out that I was searching for the wrong thing because I need to search for micro pump. And so then I've now got through Amazon a little USB powered pump. It's literally it's like that big. It's a little tinsy wincy thing, and so I've tested it. It will work and all that sort of stuff. So I'm hoping that when I get everything else sorted out, that that's going to be my cool little micro pump powered by USB. How I'm going to make that work outside, I'm not entirely sure, but that's a different Barry problem.
That's a different Barry problem, but a cool problem to have, though. I mean, you're solving stuff. You're making a fountain.
Yeah, I mean, nobody had that on my bingo card for 2026. by any stretch of the imagination. So, but then I'm going to say it's going to be a weird thing because I'm now starting to get to a point where I'm going to have to do another sale and sell some stuff. So it's been suggested I set up an Etsy shop, which is a thing I've never done before.
Okay.
So that might one time when I'm away in a hotel by myself, I might use that time to work out how Etsy shops work. And if anybody's listening who understands how Etsy shops work from a seller's perspective, please hit me up and let me know, because I feel it might be a step that I don't know whether I want to do. So we'll see.
So sell the fountain on the Etsy shop. Just make fountains. And
I think just making fountains might get a bit thing, but if this goes well, then I need to then start. I think I've told you before about my idea about doing a bad ergonomics.
yeah, I would love to see that. I want to see the Norman teapot. I want to see.
Well, yeah, because I made my first teapot the other day because I was like, I've got to try having a go at a teapot, because if I'm going to make a fancy teapot, I've got to make a whole lot of ergonomics that you just don't think about the usability and actually the fitness of the fitness of the piece on a whole number of fronts, but really interesting nonetheless. I'm finding it's a real way of understanding really basic ergonomics and frustration from a builder's perspective of when it doesn't go quite right, and you're just like, I know that it's wrong and I don't care.
Like with the handle or like with the angle, like what?
Well, so you got the spout was too low, and I'd even corrected it once, and I just didn't have a really good guide to go from. But really, because of the way that the angle of the spout is, you can only actually fill up the pot about half full, because otherwise it'll start pouring up the pot because of what I've done. And it's one of these things. It looked really good before I tried it, and it wasn't until I then put some stuff into looking at it and goes, oh, you're not going to be able to use that. Simple fluid dynamics. So learning lesson. And then the handle itself, you need a sort of a more bulbous bit at the top, which we sort of take for granted in the thing that we do, in order to carry most of the weight, in order to lever it forward under control to pour the water out, or to pour the tea out. And I was just saying, it looks pretty. I'm happy with it looking pretty. That's good enough for now. The next one will be better. But
bad ergonomics. You save it for the bad ergonomics one, and then you can be like, look, I made it even worse by putting.
Well, the thing I'm going to make. Hopefully, I'm going to make Nielsen's teapot and have that as but I can't just make. I can't just replicate his teapot, because that will just be replicating his teapot. So I need to work out. I think I'm going to try and make it twice the size. So it's a significant chunk of stuff, but it gets across the point.
A two-handed teapot.
Well, I think that's the point I want to try and get across. Is not only the point because obviously the main point he gets across with his is the handle's in the wrong place. Well, anybody can put the handle in the wrong place. That's fine. So what else can I do to then make a new message from what it is? It'll be in the wrong place and too heavy to use. But then, so I'm going to do things like create mugs with the handles the wrong way around and things like that. So,
you should make other things that are not traditionally done with that material. So, like utensils.
Okay, yeah, that's true. Spoons and
forks and knives and like try to do something like that, because that would really hammer it home, like, hey, the material has to fit the product too, otherwise it's not going to be usable. Or I don't know, make a wheel, make a wheel for a car.
You could do that, yeah. That'd be interesting. Yeah, so there's going to be, because what I want to try and do is to make this so people will interact with it, but then you don't want people to break it. So we'll see. But it's whether I do it for IEA or not, or whether they would even want that, or I maybe do it locally as a as a thing of my creations. I don't know. I've still got a ways to go in terms of my skill level first, but we'll start with the simple things.
Do you think it'd be easier or more difficult to make something intentionally poorly designed based on skill level?
I think for what I want to do, I think I need, I think I need better skill to do it badly, to do it because I'm going to design it in a way that is non-intuitive, isn't it? So at the moment, I work a lot off intuition of that feels about right. Well, because now I'm going to have to try and work out how to do it in a way that feels wrong and know that it's right for what I'm trying to achieve. So I think I probably need the practice and the skill in order to be able to recognize how to intentionally do it wrong and overcome my instinct to make it right, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
I could be talking complete drivel and actually be easy, but I think part of me sort of says that I need to also record the process as well.
It has to be wrong, but just in the right way.
Yeah, exactly right. Because otherwise, if you take for a handle, for example, if you put a handle on a mug, you orientate the mug, you orientate the handle in a way that has the load bearing, and so you really want to turn that upside down. But if it just looks clumsy, like a bad handle, then it's just going to look rubbish. So you still need to put the right level of quality in it, so it looks like a well-produced handle.
Right.
It's just wrong. So so you can use it, but you can't use it because the design of it's wrong, and therefore getting across the message of ergonomics. So in theory, in my head, it's going to be amazing. But
it is going to be amazing. Don't doubt yourself.
We'll see where we get to. So it might just be a teapot, and that's it.
Well, even if it is just a teapot, it'll still be something special because it'll be your teapot.
That's true. So,
a question for you. So I don't know if you saw, but I went on a flurry last night of posting stories in the in our Human Factors News channel, and I think there's a few really good ones in there that we could maybe even pick on for next time. So ones that are of particular interest to me is there's this AI index report. Again, AI, I know, but this one's from Stanford, and they put together this index report about how people feel about AI. And we compare that with this mass rebellion happening from Gen Z in the workplace that could be kind of fun. There's also the future of software engineering, which is another report put out there. And then there's a review of experiments with synthetic users. There's a lot of like really good stories in there.
So synthetic users one. Click on that and see if it's what I'm thinking it is.
Can you hear that clicking? Okay.
No. So I'm really into this idea of synthetic users. So we're doing a fair bit of work at the moment around digital mannequins, and I'm really into the use of personas and persona development in HF work, not UX work, if that makes sense. Mm-hmm. So looking at it, when we talk about target audience descriptions and stuff, I like to use personas from the get-go, not leave it till later down the line when you're doing user testing and whatnot. And so that would be, I'd be quite into doing something around that.
Yeah, maybe not posted it in private chat for you.
Oh, cool. Okay.
So you can take a look at that if that's of interest.
That chat. Yeah, that's what I'm reading now. That's the one I pulled up.
Yeah.
Cool.
Okay.
Out of the chat. Yeah. Yeah. That's what prompted me to say it. So that could be quite cool.
Yeah.
We could do another I mean, there's obviously still quite a few space topics in there.
Yeah,
Maybe we
space
need to
topics.
get off the space thing for a while.
Yeah, get off space for a little bit.
I like this gamers in AI one.
The FAA.
The FAA one.
Yeah.
Because that's something that is been around about for a while. So we talked about gamification in the military and the use of them games I've now forgotten the names of. Call of Duty and that type of thing. This is a different take on it. So I've never done because I've played with lots of flight sims. I've never really played properly with an ATC sim. If such a thing exists, it must do.
We need to play that game. Is it out yet? We need to look at that game to see if it's out yet. We should play that one day. Like just have fun with it.
Yeah.
It's the don't crash one. It's like keep talking and nobody explodes, and it's so somebody's at ATC and somebody's on the airplane.
Yes, we have looked at it, didn't we?
Yeah. Well, maybe in the future we need to figure that out, and when we can do that.
That'd be good.
But right now, you have to figure out what to watch next, because we're gonna end it right here, because it is late for you, sir, and it is a long post-processing day for me. So we will see you all later, and I will have less post-processing to do because of my brand new internet.
Yay!
Wish I had a audio. I need a soundboard with a voice box over here, and then I will truly be unstoppable. Okay, like I said, in the meantime, join us on Discord. We're planning to do a big shift in Discord soon. So if you have thoughts on that, like what you want out of a Human Factors community, please reach out to me. I would love to know, because we want to make it a community for the community by the community type of thing. Anyway, join us over there. In the meantime, go listen to other stuff that we've done, and continue the discussion there. We'll be back in just 2 weeks' time.
Awesome.
And I thought that was a soundboard. I didn't think that was the music. I thought that was you like revving something up there.
Nope, not me. Sorry.
All right. Well, thank you everybody for your time, I guess. I appreciate you all being here and watching this, and we'll be back just in 2 weeks' time to talk about something else. And hope y'all are doing great, and have a good evening. Bye, everybody. Bye.
Bye.
Are you tired of boring lectures and textbooks on human factors and UX? Well, grab your headphones and get ready for a wild ride with the Human Factors Minute podcast. Each minute is like a mini crash course packed with valuable insights and information on various organizations, conferences, usability methods, theories, models, certifications, tools, and much more. We'll take you on a journey through the fascinating world of human factors, from the ancient history to the latest trends and developments. Listen in as we explore the field and discover new ways to enhance the user experience. From the Think Aloud protocol to the critical incident technique, focus groups, iterative design, we'll make sure that you're the smartest person in the room. Tune in on the 10th, the 20th, and the last day of every month for a new and interesting tidbit related to human factors. Don't miss out on the Human Factors Minute podcast, your ultimate source for all things human factors.
Human Factors Cast brings you the best in human factors news, interviews, conference coverage, and overall fun conversations into each and every episode we produce. But we can't do it without you. The Human Factors Cast network is 100% listener supported. All the funds that go into running the show come from our listeners. Our patrons are our priority, and we want to ensure we're giving back to you for supporting us. Pledges start at just $1 per month and include rewards like access to our monthly Q&As with the hosts, personalized professional reviews, and access to the full library of Human Factors Minute, a weekly podcast where the hosts break down unique, obscure, and interesting human factors topics in just 1 minute. Patreon rewards are always evolving, so stop by patreon.com/humanfactorscast to see what support level may be